The show is nothing without everything by KatieG World Cultures. Shadow Puppets started in China in an area 80 miles east from Shan. This location is called Huaqian. On the map, it is shown at the bottom right. There is a fable behind the story and history of shadow puppets. China's emperor at the time had just lost his wife. One man created an elaborate silhouette or picture of the emperor's dead wife. This man was named Chow Meng, and he made the first shadow puppet. The way it worked was that the emperor saw his dead wife through a translucent screen that made the doll's shadow come to life. The emperor took advice from the shadow of his wife, but when he found out that it was actually Chow Meng, he had the first puppeteer executed. This was the fable that most Chinese believe was the beginning to one of the most popular children entertainment sources. Puppeteers are the people who perform shadow plays. These puppeteers study the art of putting on shadow plays for a month and then have to spend a year learning how to move the puppet's limbs without making a mistake and rushing into the light. This is just the basic knowledge, and it is easier to learn now than it was earlier in history. Farther back in history, it took almost a year to learn the basic knowledge of shadow puppetry, and now it only takes about a month. Now that we are later in history, it is also easier to become fluent in the art of shadow puppetry. This is helpful to the puppeteers because these puppeteers sometimes have to put on 60 plays at one time. Chinese shadow puppetry is a type of theater that is acted out by puppets. The puppets are accompanied by music and singing. The puppeteers move the rods to hold the puppets to make an illusion on a special translucent screen. This makes the puppets' shadows show up, and it is possible to make the shadows look colorful on the screen. You could also put the puppets in front of an overhead projector. Shadow puppets are any two-dimensional, recognizable animal or person. Four essential elements in shadow puppetry. These elements are the figures themselves, the control, the screen, and the light to light the screen. The shadow puppets were made out of leather and the hides of some animals. This is where they got the name Piying, or shadows of hides. The screen is translucent so that the light will light up the puppets and make the image of the shadows on the screen. A shadow puppet screen can be made of lots of materials, including parchment in North Africa, paper, nettle fabric, and fine silk in China, cotton cloth in Java, and ground glass in England and the USA. The screen has to be translucent enough to cast a shadow, though. Other materials are able to be used too. All different sizes of screens are used by puppeteers around the world. The size depends on the puppeteer, though. Light comes from a light bulb in the projector, if you're using the projector at all. The shadow puppets were first made out of paper. Shadow puppets were originally made like paper statues. Then later on, the designers decided to make them out of different types of hides like donkey hide and oxen hide. They were also made out of leather. Shadow puppets were made with great detail. Some took over 6 months to make because of their significant detail. Shadow puppets were created more than 2,000 years ago. The first purpose was to entertain the emperor from the fable to make him forget about his wife who had passed away. They then became used for entertainment in China. Some theaters in China still show shadow puppet plays today. Nowadays, puppeteers have learned a lot about shadow puppetry and have increased their skill level with the puppet plays, making them more entertaining and engrossing to a different age group, kids. Shadow plays today are typically used for special occasions such as weddings, reunions, and funerals. They are used at festivals and are used to show cultural history and values to the youth, as well as entertaining them. The puppets originated in Huaqian. This location is about 80 miles east of Shan. The shadow puppet shows were originally made in China and are still made in China today. Other places in the world started using shadow puppet plays for holidays and other special occasions. Different countries took the idea of the shadow puppet and started to tweak the plays by adding props and backgrounds to the play scenes. In modern times, shadow puppets are used for entertaining kids throughout China and other countries as well. Shadow puppets were also introduced to other Southeastern Asian countries besides China because of this. They soon came to have a different purpose as they got popular for kids, when their first purpose was to make an emperor happy who was originally sad about his wife who had passed away. Shadow puppets were made and originated in China at a location about 80 miles away from Shan. Then, when the idea of shadow puppets became more popular, traders started to use them on the Silk Roads. The puppeteers put on shadow puppet shows along the Silk Roads, and when the travelers saw the idea, they liked it and started to tweak them by adding props and backgrounds to the play scenes. Other countries started to use shadow puppet plays on holidays and other special occasions. Puppeteers would put on shadow plays to spread knowledge, promote cultural value, and to entertain the community, especially the children. Some puppeteers did this to make money, others did it as a side job for children to enjoy. One reason for shadow plays to continue was that some children got addicted to shadow puppets and eventually became a puppeteer themselves. That's why they had so many shows and so many people wanting to join the shadow puppet community.